Welcome back. There is a new report out this afternoon involving Robert F. Kennedy Jr. that could potentially scramble the 2024 presidential race. The news website Mediaite is reporting that RFK Jr. plans to announce he will run as an independent on October 9th in the state of Pennsylvania. Take this at face value if the report is true. First off, you're sitting back going, whoa.
That's a huge problem.
For
the president, for President Biden.
Why?
Listen, anytime you have more people in this race that folks have a choice on between Donald Trump and Joe Biden, it's problematic for Joe Biden. Donald Trump activated so many people. We saw the highest turnout election, excuse me, in 100 years, mostly because of Donald Trump, not because of Joe Biden in 2020. That was a reaction to Donald Trump. So, again, if you've got Cornel West running on a party line, if you've got Robert Kennedy running on a party line, that's problematic for Joe Biden.
What about the idea maybe that some of his views, he had unfavorable ratings with Democrats, some of his views more aligned with Republicans, so maybe it could actually hurt Donald Trump, pull in that direction?
I find something very hard to believe Trump voters right now voting for the son of Bobby Kennedy in American
and plus
politics.
Those voters already have a home in the Libertarian Party, right? I think this is a problem. In fact, I've talked to a former head of the DNC and before this happened, and he was already concerned about the Cornel West thing and the Green Party thing.
And the no labels thing too, potentially.
Well, and the no labels I think is a little bit different just because I have seen the data and I happen to believe that we'll pull evenly from both parties. I may not be in the majority of that, but I think there is data to back that up. But the DNC person was simply saying, look, go back and look at Florida. We all know the stories. Yeah. Look at Florida in 2000. Look at Michigan in 2016. They were minuscule Republican wins, and they turned the tide of an election. This just adds to that complexity.
We've learned a lot of lessons from that, though, as Democrats. On, let's see, October 9th is when he's supposed to announce. October 8th, they will drop the holy hell of Oppo research on him.
I mean, what else is out there, though, on Bobby Kennedy? I mean, we know his views. He's,
But, like, Democrats aren't...
Does it make a difference in this thing?
In Democrats, it does. It wouldn't make a difference with Republicans.
Didn't we just have a conversation about a candidate in Northern Virginia running for State House doing public sex tapes? I mean, does it really matter for you folks?
But it's a state legislature race. I think that's a little different. Like, when you're talking about someone running for president, one, I don't think Democrats take him seriously anyway, but I think when you oppo dump on him and make him so toxic that no one, even people who are politically
between 15 and 20% of people polled take him seriously.
But to your point, as more Democrats get to know his actual views, his numbers go down.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you, can I ask you a question about what does this do to a Joe Manchin race?
I mean, Joe Manchin is going to make a decision just for Joe Manchin's interests, not analyzing the field whatsoever. I think at the end of the day, Joe Manchin's got $14 million in the bank and wants to be a player, and I think runs for re-election in West Virginia.
Ooh, really?
100%.
Oh, wow.
I was out in West Virginia. I was out in West Virginia a few weeks ago.
Did you say?
I was out in West Virginia a few weeks ago with Shelley Moore Capito, bipartisan, and the fact that Joe Manchin is showing up at local community events, going to local parades, it is an indication that he's looking at home and not at national office.
That's fair, but you had me up until that last sentence, which is he's going to do what's right for Joe Manchin. He's got $14 million. He wants to be president, and he sees maybe the no-labels avenue as a way to do that. I don't happen to think anybody in this country is clamoring for Joe Manchin to be president. I think it'd be a disaster, but Joe Manchin probably doesn't see it that way. That's the first person I've had. By the way, it makes perfect sense. If he's working hard at home, that's a good indicator, but that's the first I've heard of that.
There you go. You heard it here.
I don't like Joe Manchin. I've made that very clear, but I don't think he's stupid. And what he doesn't want to be remembered for is handing the torch to Trump again. Yeah. And so I don't see a world where he runs for president.
And I think he personally likes the president.
That's not a bad pitch if you want to be the president of West Virginia University. I gave the presidency to Trump.
Yeah.
Is that a play?
Go Mountain.
That is, yeah.
That's one of the possible jobs for him that folks have talked about on his way out.
Thanks for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to subscribe. Click the red button to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.